Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 7-2, Solve and Write Addition Equations. This lesson is found on page 525. When you start 7th grade, your teacher is really going to check to see if you know how to work with equations, so make sure that you pay close attention as we work through this chapter. Real life example, real world link. Miniature golf, okay, mini golf. On the second hole of a miniature golf, it took Anne 3 putts, okay, so 3 hits, to sink the golf ball. Her score is now 5. She represents this situation with cups and counters, okay? So we know that her score is 5, okay? And she went through 2 holes because it's saying on the second hole. So clearly it was the first one and then a second one, okay? And we see that her score is 5. And we were only told that she had 3 putts, okay? But we don't know what she did before that. So we know that there's 3 putts. So 3 putts to sink the golf ball. On the second hole of a miniature golf, it took Anne 3 putts. There's her 3 putts, okay? So she scored a 3 on the second hole for a total of 5. What do we have to add to the 3 to get 5? We know that her score on the first hole is unknown, so we're just going to represent it with an empty cup. This would normally be the variable. This could be, for example, when we're doing a math equation, this would be our x, right? The variable we don't know, plus 3. You see, x plus 3 equals 5. And 5 is her total score after 2 holes, right? So here are the facts. Okay, her score on the first hole is unknown. That was represented by the cup, or x. Her score is now 5. This is what it equals. She scored a 3 on the second hole. Write the addition equation shown in the figure. We know that it totals 5, so it's equal to 5. That's why it's called an equation. This side and this side will both equal 5. And we know that we don't know what she did on the first hole, but she got 3 on the second hole. And there we go. Okay, that's an equation. This is 5. Okay, so what number am I missing here to make this 5? Alright, explain how to solve the equation. Boys and girls, you can subtract 3 from both sides, right, to leave the x all alone. That's one way to do it. Or you can isolate the x, leave it all alone on this side, bring the 3 over to the other side, and do the inverted operation. If it's addition on this side, it's going to be subtraction on this side. So let's explain that. The simplest way to explain it is by saying subtract 3 from both sides of the equation. Subtract a 3 from this side, so I have minus 3 and minus 3. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. I get a 2 here, and here these two cancel each other out. So essentially I'm left with x equals 2. So what is Anne's score on the first hole? 2. Solve an equation by subtracting. In lesson 1, you mentally solved the equation. Another way is to use inverse operations, which undo each other, which means to undo. For example, to solve an addition equation, you use subtraction, or to solve a subtraction, you use addition. You just do the inverted, the opposite. 2 plus c equals 5. Well, let's do the opposite, where we subtract out the 2, because it's being added on that side, but we have to do it on this side as well. So I get 3, and all I'm left with is c. Because 2 minus 2 is 0, right? And I'm left with c equals 3. Well, is 2 plus 3 5? Yes. In lesson 1, you were able to do something like this mentally, where 8 is x plus 3. What do I add to the 3 to make it 8? Well, a lot of you can tell that it's 5, because 3 plus 5 is 8, right? You know that already. You don't even have to look at all this. Or you could do it the way we just practiced, where you have 8 equals x plus 3, right? We subtract out the 3, and we do it to this side as well, so that all I have left is x on this side. This will give me 0, and this will give me 5, right? So x equals 5. Is that true? 3 plus 5 is 8? Correct. I think we're ready to do a little practice here. I believe you can do a lot of these, or all of them mentally, but do the steps where you do the inverted operation, where you do the inverse of the operation. So go ahead, pause the video and try it now. Okay, I hope you paused the video. I'm going to do the opposite. So I know that 2 is being added, so I'm going to go ahead and just subtract it out. So it gives me 0, and all I have left now is c, right? So all I have left is this c. I'll write it equals, and I subtracted on this side, so I must subtract on this side as well. So it's minus 2, and I get 3. Okay, so c equals 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. That's correct. Same thing, I have 6 equals x plus 5. Let's follow the same operation. Subtract out the 5 so that you get 0, and all you have left is x equals, subtract out the 5. Same on this side, and you have 1. So x equals 1. 5 plus 1, 6. Ooh, now we're going to get a little tricky and add a 0.5 in and a 0.75. I believe you can do this no problem. Again, it's, the 3.5 is being added, so let's subtract it out of there so that we have 0, and all we have left now is y. And we have to subtract the 3.5 from here as well. 3.5, I'm going to add in the 0, okay? So that you know that they work together like this. Alright, so we have 25, we have, and then 9, am I right? Yes. Okay, y equals 9, decimal 25. 3.5 plus 9.25 equals 12.75. Subtraction, property of equality. Now, what we're trying to explain here, boys and girls, is whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other side so that the equation remains true, so that we can say that they're still equal. So if you subtract 3 from the 5, and you must do the same to this side so that it remains 2 is 2, so that the equal remains true. Algebraically speaking, when we have a variable, and we want to isolate the variable, leave it all by itself on the side, that's what we mean by isolate, we subtract the number. So we have a plus 2, let's get it out of there. So, but if we do it to this side, we must do it to the other side, so x equals 1. Therefore, when you solve an equation by subtracting the same number from each side of the equation, you are using the subtraction property of equality, another property. Okay, let's look at this word problem. Ruben and Tariq have 245.5 downloaded minutes of music. Okay, so 245.5 minutes of music. If Ruben has 132 minutes, how many belong to Tariq? Write and solve an equation, an addition equation, to find how many minutes belong. Okay, we can do this without looking at this entire diagram, but you know what? I do encourage you to take a look at it. Let's see. What is the grand total? You know, using your own ability to solve this. Oh, sorry. Using your own logic. What is the total of all the minutes? The total. Well, we know it's this, right? 245.5. Okay, and we know that Ruben has 132 of it. 132. What we don't know is what Tariq has. So we can replace it with a T. So Tariq plus Ruben equals 245.5. You can see how it's explained here with words, okay, with the variables, and then, I mean, they did it a little bit backwards, but remember, commutative property of addition means that it's going to equal the same. I did t plus 132, they did 132 plus t. Okay, you can isolate the variable by subtracting 132 from this side and 132 from this side. And when you do that, it's going to give you the difference of 113.5. Okay, now we have the question has been slightly changed. Please go ahead, pause the video, and try it, okay? I'm going to read it for you. Suppose Ruben had 147.5 minutes of the 245.5 that were downloaded. Write and solve the addition equation to find how many minutes belong to Tariq. Okay, so it's the same, essentially the same steps, boys and girls. We have the total still, and we know that total has not changed from 245.5, right? The only thing that's changed is this value here, which was Ruben's. And that's what, because Ruben plus Tariq's make the 245, means we have to add it. That's why it's the right operation. And I go ahead and I put Tariq there. Same operation, boys and girls. We subtract the 147.5. Okay, so let's cancel, and all I have now it's t, my t left, right, equals, and I subtract it from there. Subtract the 147.5 from this side. Okay, so that cancels that out. I borrow here, it gives me 8 at the bottom. Because I borrowed there, this became 3, so this becomes 9 in total. Okay, 14 is 9. So there we go. So here we have 98. So t equals 98. Because it's a question with words, it must be answered with words. Therefore, Tariq would have 98 minutes. And finally, example 3. Please take a look through example 3 carefully on your own. Let's read it together and you can see how I solve it. Okay, I'll put it down here like this. A male gorilla weighs 379 pounds on average. This is 181 pounds more than the weight of an average female gorilla. Write and solve an addition equation to find the weight of an average female gorilla. So we know that our total is this. Our total is 379, right? And we know that this is 181 pounds more than the weight of an average. So that's going to be more. But we're looking for essentially the same thing we were doing in the word problem before. We're looking for what two numbers will make up 379. But we've already been given one, so we know it's plus 181. Okay? Plus 181. And we know that this one is the female gorilla. So the female gorilla plus 181 is 379, the male gorilla. Because they're telling us that the male gorilla is more. It's 181 more. So there it is, 181 more than the female. It's 379, which is the male gorilla. And you can see that's essentially what they did down here. They wrote it the other way around, and they used a different variable. They used W instead of the F. But you subtract out the 181 from both sides, and you will get your average female gorilla weight, which is 198. Okay, please leave the guided practice for class. Complete the entire independent practice. Okay, all the way down as well as the back of the page. Now here we're working with fractions. So look at the fraction, please. Remember that when you're adding and subtracting fraction, you have to have the same denominator. So it works the same way, boys and girls. A, for example, you're going to invert the operation, bring it over to the other side. So now you have A equals 5 over 10 minus 1/10, which equals A equal 4/10. But 4/10 can be simplified because they're both divisible by 2, which equals A equals 2/5. Okay, let's do the same for number 8. It's so nice that they give us the common denominator already, so it's easier to work with it. I'm going to invert the operation where m is left all by itself. Instead of adding 1/3, I'm going to subtract 1/3 from the other side. That means inverting the operation, so I'm going to subtract the 1/3. And m equals 2 minus 1 is 1 over 3, 1/3. m equals 1/3. Okay, the same thing goes over here, except now they've written it the other way around where the variable is on this side of the equation, but it doesn't matter. We have 3/4, okay? I'm going to, instead of add it, I'm going to bring it to the other side and invert it, which means subtract it, over 1/2 equals x. That's how it is rewritten. Now I have to take one additional step at finding my common denominator. I see that my common denominator is going to be 4. Remember, you have to find the least common denominator, LCD, which is 4. So if it is 4, I'm going to write it like this, where it's just all 1. It's all 4. What did I do to the 3 to make it for the 4? What did I do to the 4 to keep it 4? Nothing. So I do nothing to the 3. So I write it minus. I had to double the 2 to make it 4. So I must double the 1 to 2 equals x. And then, let me just move all this. I go ahead and solve, and 3 minus 2 is 1 over 4 equals x. So x equals is 1/4. And finally, number 10, again, you can see that they did not give us the same denominator, but it's easy to convert it into the same denominator. 8 and 4 are both multiples of 4, right? So I'm going to go right ahead and write it as 7 over 8. Bring this over to the other side, which becomes minus 1/4 is y, okay, equals y. My common denominator is 8. I didn't do anything to the 8, so I won't do anything to the 7, but I did double the 4, so I must double the 2. I mean the 1 to the 2, and equals y. And 7 minus 2 is 5 over 8, y. So y equals 5/8.